Parsegian, and we call the show Era Sports World. It's all about youth and their activities, the fun, excitement, competition, action. Stick around. You'll like it.
Era Sports World is brought to you by Kellogg's, because your best days start with breakfast.
It takes a lot of skilled men and women, officers and airmen, all working together to keep the Air Force flying. To find out how you can be part of the Air Force team, call 800-447-4700 toll-free for the location of the Air Force recruiter nearest you.
Chunk after chunk after chunk. Campbell's Chunky Soups. So chunky you'll be tempted to eat them with a fork. Dig into chunky beef and you'll come up with chunks of beef, carrots, and potatoes. It's a main dish in a bowl. Or dig into chunky turkey. It's more than a soup. It's chunky. So hearty you can build a meal around it. Campbell's Chunky Soup. So chunky you'll be tempted to eat them with a fork. But use a spoon. You'll want to get every drop.
Introducing that king of fun, the one who's okay with us kids, the Magic Burger King!
In person?
Yay!
I'm the marvelous, magical Burger King. I can do most anything. Now watch me, kids, when I twist my rings like magic.
We're at Burger King! Is more Magic Burger King?
I'm the marvelous, magical Burger King. I can do most anything. I love magic and food that's fun. So I'll make a burger disappear, make it come back here. Turn apples into pies right before your eyes. Turn onions into rings.
As we can see.
Put a shiver in the shake. It's easy for me. I'm the marvelous, magical Burger King. I can do most anything. I love magic and food that's fun. So
Yeah, fun for everyone! Burger King, yay!
Hello, Keebler.
Why, that's an elf suit.
Right. I always wanted to be an elf, you know, wear the outfit, live in a tree, bake rich and chips cookies. Listen, how do you make rich and chips so doubly delicious?
We use two kinds of chips, chocolate chips and secret second flavor chips. They make Keebler Rich and Chips doubly delicious.
Two kinds of chips.
And elves. You're too tiny an elf.
I'll wear low heels. Nobody will know.
Keebler Rich and Chips. Two kinds of chips.
Doubly delicious.
Some tissues like to call themselves softer, while others call themselves stronger. The truth is, you can't have more of one without losing some of the other. If we were to make Kleenex tissues any softer, we'd lose too much strength. While if we were to make Kleenex tissues any stronger, we'd lose some of our famous softness. So Kleenex tissues give you softness and strength in perfect balance. We'll never take away one to give you more of the other.
Hey, kids, what do you get when you take a bowl and a can of alphagetti?
You get 100 billion words in every can of alphagetti. Like dogs and kittens, where's your mittens? Time for school, don't be a nil. Where's my mommy? I've got an empty tummy. You get 100 billion words in every can of alphagetti.
It's fun to eat.
WGR-TV2 in Buffalo. NBC Wednesday Mystery Movie will not be presented this evening, but will return next week at its regular time.
What's up, Cyberspace Cadets? That's right, it's Sunday. You know what that means. It's time for ice cream. Why do I call it ice cream? That's simple because most people consider ice cream to be a treat, as do I. And to me, a treat is talking to somebody I'm interested in, or I want to know more about. Today's guest is definitely no exception. We've been around for years, and yet we have yet to hang out one-on-one and talk, and that's getting fixed today. Okay. Without any further ado, we'll just say, hey, memes of destruction. What's up, man? Exactly. I kind of got a thing about this thing, and now you're unmuted. So say hi again.
Oh, there we go. Hey guys, what's going on? Exactly. We need to keep the boomerism consistent. I do it as well.
You see, there's always the delay too, man. So, all right.
Oh, have we ruined the show yet?
Not yet. I don't think so.
There's still time.
No, that's right. Let's say it to some people in the. I say geeks enjoy Neurotica. I like the name. Welcome aboard.
LDG.
Those subbed and stuff. Seratomatic greetings. Mason Malpas. I saw you in there, man. Johnny Bonsaco, Bubba. Goat Man. It's nice to be blessed by the goat. JP, I salute you. Moonbase Radio, I salute you as well. And memes, of course, is here with me. It's like I get going
hey, we're getting up on it. Yeah.
A little too fast. Uzi Q, my significant other, who is much more significant than I am. All right, so we're loaded and we're ready for bear. We're ready to get this helicopter off the pad here and get it in the air.
Lift off.
That's right, brother. That's right. So, all right. So what I've got some questions, and I always start at the YouTube thing, and and the whole idea is to kind of present you and to, maybe let people that know who you are and know what your content is see a different side of you a little bit, and also to people that weren't familiar with you, to get familiar. And kind of get into what exactly you have to offer. So, and to promote you, and during the way, I'll ask you some questions about you as a person, and then maybe we'll wax philosophic, and then towards the end, if the chat has any questions, they've been taking notes during the show. Because that's what you need to do.
There will be a quiz at the end.
There will be a quiz, and there will be for memes. So,
right on, brother. Sounds good.
That's right. And when we're finished, we'll be back at YouTube, and that's the big promo thing. So, and then we exit stage left. So,
okay, when in doubt.
That's right, man. All right, so the first question is always, how long have you been around YouTube, and what made you decide that you wanted to start creating content and get on the other side of the screen, as I say?
Wow, that's actually a very dangerous question, because it all goes back all the way to 2009, when I emerged in my original form. And I kind of, like, more recently, literally just did a fitness vlog back in the day. It wasn't even really a vlog. It's like, oh, I've been playing World of Warcraft far too often. Maybe I should drop some of this weight. Maybe I should get back in shape. So I documented it week by week, and I lost like 50 pounds in 90 days back in 2009. And I noticed something weird at the time. I'm like, wait a second, somebody subscribed to my YouTube channel? I'm like, why does anyone care about this? I kept on getting all these emails. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And this was before Google had bought it, and there was like any monetization or anything. So I'm like, oh, well, that's nice. I'm like, oh, some people seem inspired here. That's cool. And then I went the whole corporate route, worked for a Fortune 100 company, felt my soul kind of being drained away, and now we've come full circle. The interesting thing is, a couple years ago when I started this YouTube channel, The Memes of Destruction, I had kind of tried to resurrect my old channel, but I forgot the password, and you needed to go through all this hoopla to kind of get the information, and I was like, oh, and then like last year I just remembered the password. But this channel's already been up and running, so we are where we are.
There you go. Hey, man, I feel you. Yeah. Let's see. You packed a lot into that, and we'll probably readdress some of the stuff that you just touched on. Let me get 1 second here, because this is supposed to happen. You got to subscribe, people, and ring that bell. I don't know if I did the bell ritual, so there it is. Bell ritual completed. All right, we may move on to the next level.
Level up.
So, all right, I've been staring at your avatar for quite a while, and I just realized it kind of looks. Is that a turtle?
It actually, that's not that far off. It's technically a dragonkin. It's a scaly director marketer.
Yeah.
Actually sculpted this for me. It's actually a full 3D model. And he's like, he had me on, and he's like, you can do with this what you want. And I'm like, well, if this is actual work that I am used, because like I use some other avatars and everything, and some of them I've gotten permission for, others I just kind of like reverse and flip it, just kind of using with the Blue Eyes Toon Dragon, because one of the whole reasons for doing that was it's like, I remember back a couple of years ago, it's like, oh, wait a second, there are some alternative right folks that are around here. Oh, this seems like a perfect avatar for them. So I'm like, I kind of created the Control Alt right, where furries are welcome, and just kind of parodied it, and that's one of the reasons I took it. Well, that, and also before creation, sometimes there must be destruction, and the Blue Eyes White Dragon, literally on the card, says the ultimate engine of destruction.
Oh, nice. And it's a play on the Eve of Destruction, that song, right?
Well, technically, the memes of production were taken in all its relevant forms.
Oh, yeah, and then the means of production. Yeah, I like that, too. I didn't even think about that. Nice. Nice stuff. So, all right, so if somebody was used to watching your show, how much of the real you that they see would you say is you, right?
That is a very interesting question, IRATE. I basically don't have what I feel much of a difference of how I would act IRL than I would depending on the situation. I mean, it's kind of like I really just limit my use of profanity depending on like where we're publishing, who's around and stuff. I generally try to be respectful, and it's like, all right, I put these things out there. I often do things that are questionable, but then again, I also believe in quickly apologizing for things, so they usually don't come back and bite me because I do a lot of stupid things.
I heard that, man. All right, so this is the question I ask everybody. This is what kicks off the second part of this thing is there a food from your childhood that you couldn't stand, but now as an adult you like it?
Might be the most difficult question. I wanna say probably maybe like a broccoli or an asparagus or something, just because I want to trend towards asparagus because I feel like that was one of those things that was there, but I'm not sure I didn't really not like it. I know broccoli kind of had its coming around with the whole Behold the Power of Cheese campaign, along with the sheer fact of it being in like any type of orange or General Gauss chicken kind of brought me around, but I really don't know. I'm gonna stay with asparagus, but I might change on that in the future.
Okay.
I apologize.
Hey man, it's no problem. It's just, it's kind of like to get a conversation going. All right. So using one word, how would you describe your family growing up?
I mean, I want to default to love, but I'm gonna go with. I had a spectacular childhood. I really can't complain about much. Say it was dynamic.
Cool. That's a good word. I like that. Let's see. Who would you say was the most influential person from your childhood?
Can I say Godzilla?
Sure.
Well, to be fair, going in with the whole scaly persona and everything, apparently I found out a couple of years ago that my mom even told me, it's like, yeah, your first progress report from preschool said, Memes has stopped growling at the other children and acting like a dinosaur and begun to associate with the other children. I'm like, that was my actual progress report? Because I remember that, because I remember stomping along by the chain link fence that they had on the outside of the play area, and I was kicking pine cones, pretending I was Godzilla from Godzilla vs. Megalon, because Godzilla did something like that at that point of the movie.
Yeah, you kicked some rocks. I remember that, man. Yeah, groovy. So, what kind of kid were you? Were you like an outgoing kid, shy? What were grades like? What?
Let's see. I think I went through a bit of a metamorphosis. I think at one point it's like I was very open and I became a bit more enclosed, but then again I probably just am a complete narcissist in that I love attention. I love causing hijinks, if you would. Not necessarily trouble, but all I know is at one point in the 8th grade we were there with our teacher, Mr. Jones, and it was earth science. So they were talking about like the Earth's crust and like digging holes, and he had a friend that had a plane, and they would fly around to different dig sites. And he's like, "Here's me with Rom, and we're at a tephnological jig." And like I'm looking at a hole in the ground, it's got 2 spade shovels with it. So I'm like, AKA digging a hole. The entire class burst out laughing for like an awkwardly long amount of time. I want to say about a full minute, to the point where Mr. Jones at one point literally just points the projector in my eyes to be like, and I'm like, try to like regain some control there. But it's like, I don't know. I also was voted most unpredictable. Grades I did decent at, I guess.
That's, let's see. All right, so talk about, all right, this next one was like, all right, do you have a favorite holiday or season that really excites you and gets you and puts you in a good spirit?
Halloween.
Yeah.
I like dressing up.
Yeah, obviously.
What are you talking about? I've been to my friend's wedding in my yellow level up shirt.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, I have.
Yeah.
It was clean.
Yeah, that's kind of a cool. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Right on.
Let's see, if you could go back in time and talk to the little memes of destruction at the age of 8, what would you tell him?
It's okay to love. I mean, it's one of those things. It's like I grew up being also a very skeptical child of many people and everything. So it's like you have certain experiences in life. It's like, especially when you're younger, I do tend to think that forms a lot of our foundations of how we view the world and everything. And
sure,
that's why a lot of times when you have different folks that come across other people that had similar situations, that they feel like a connection and everything, as well as when you run across folks that had completely different experiences, if you can relate on some other level where you might have a connection or something, then you might be able to start to understand another person's point of view. So,
right.
But yeah, that's why I go with it's okay to love, just because, well, I think there's far too much hate in this world.
I like that, man. Positive attitude. Say hi to Jack Gunsky on Twitch. What's up, man? Yeah, we're broadcasting on Twitch, D Live, Facebook, in addition to.
We got RVA as well.
Yeah, man. Hey, this is the old spaghetti, throwing the spaghetti at the wall thing, right? So
yeah, maybe I'll get some meatballs.
Get the meatball. All right, let me. I'm thinking the music in the background noise is maybe a little too much. Let me cut it back just a little bit. It wasn't overpowering. It's just a wee bit distracting.
Getting the levels just right it's an art.
Yeah. Well, I've got the old school Enterprise bridge noise background. So yeah, and with the music, behind that a little bit. So
right on.
And that way, if you pass gas or also known as flatulence or farting.
Hey, everybody farts.
Exactly. Sometimes we miss that mute button, dude. The cough button.
It's all right. It happens to our politicians as well. It's like, this is of the. It's like, no, that was totally not flatulence. It's like, who cares? That's the thing. It's people's response to the situation. It's like something embarrassing happened. Oh, I totally didn't do that. We're all sitting there. It's like, no, that totally happened. Just admit to it. The fact that you're lying to us just makes it more of a big scene.
Yeah, that's right. Own it, man. That's kind of I think that's the secret to dealing with like anything that involves exposure or high pressure is to just have that attitude. Okay, moving on. So what was school like? What were you? What kind of grades did you get? And
I'd say it was usually honor roll, stuff like that. I usually kind of did my school thing, but it was kind of like it seemed kind of boring in some ways, just because it's like the traditional system. It's like if Sally has 4 apples and Timmy has 5 apples, if Timmy gives Sally 3 apples, how many apples? It's like, all due respect to Sally and Timmy, I don't care how many apples they have. Talk about like the power level, like Pokemon cards, or frickin' the attack points of a Yu-Gi-Oh card, or something. Like, turn it into something relatable or something.
Right.
It's like at one point, like, I stopped understanding math halfway through the 6th grade, where one day our teacher was like, you don't need to know this now, but this will be useful later in life. And she was teaching us how to cross multiply fractions. So I didn't pay attention that day. I just kind of drew in my notebook, because this was before iPads and other such wonderful screen devices we lose countless hours on today. And then we got to 7th grade. And my teacher on like the first day is like, well, since you know how to cross multiply fractions, here are some letters in math. And I'm like, oh crap. So I literally, I swear the system just kind of moved me along because my teachers liked me. The occasional smart girl in front of me would literally just turn around and do like my test for me. Like with the teacher just standing there. And I'm like, well, I'm not cheating. They literally just did it for me. I'm like, oh, okay. I got moved along the system until I got to like college. And then when I got to like an upper level finance class and you put like a $ and a reason for solving the problem, I'm like, oh, I know calculus. Well then like nuclear physics. If it was a way to derive profit or a way to make things go boom, then all of a sudden I understood math.
Nice. Let's see. Were you a rambunctious kid? Did you go out a lot?
Was I a hooligan? I was totally a hooligan.
Right? What's the craziest thing you did as a kid?
Well, I think the most infamous thing that I did, I'll rephrase it a little bit there, was my senior year of high school. I didn't like some of the quote-unquote interpolitics that was going on in the high school. So at one point at the first wrestling match of the season, I was a decently ranked senior. I was going to get somebody that wasn't quite as highly ranked. I threw them around for about 5.5 minutes. And then with about 20 seconds left of the match, I took a dive, let the kid pin me, turned around, gave my coach a 2-fingered salute, and told him to F off. And then I walked out. Now, for context, this was like 2 months after 9/11 happened. And I'm not gonna lie, I totally had a mouth on me as well at the time. So basically they came together and I find out now essentially lied to the police and like, oh, he's a terrorist. So apparently there were 5 cities and towns looking for me while I was sitting at one town over in a place called the Sugar Shack doing karaoke with friends. I voluntarily turned myself in to the police because it's like, I show up to the police station, it's like, I heard y'all were looking for me. They're like, oh, they have concerns about your mental health and your state. I'm like, okay. I go to the hospital. The dude interviews me. He's like, okay, you're fine. I'm like, all right. As I'm getting up for school the next day, my dad's like, you're not going to school. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, they're not going to have you. And I'm like, what? I'm like, I told my coach to go F off. So I figured I wouldn't be on the wrestling team anymore. Oh, no. They had, and I get kind of where they're coming from. It's like, oh, they thought there was going to be like bad things, like I was actually going to be like a terrorist that attacked the school. It's like, no, I politically disagreed with what the coaching staff had done and the way they were kind of running things. So that was my little rebellious thing. So long story short, I ended up moving in with my grandmother one town over, and then I started playing lacrosse so I could run over a couple of kids from my old school. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah, it was Slappy Get Right with the Suicidal Tendency song quote there. All I wanted was a Pepsi, and she wouldn't give it to me.
More of a Sprite guy myself.
Ba-da-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da. I know that song, man. Suicidal Tendency is a great band. In the day. Back in the day, when I was old. Young and spry, young and... Okay. All right, so I describe... This question is like I roll the dice on who I ask it. So talk about the first time you realized women turned you on, like your first erection, or the first significant thing where your brain went, "Oh, hold on, these chicks just don't have cooties over here."
Oh dear. Probably somewhere along maybe like the 4th or 5th grade, because all I know is in the 4th grade I said something to a girl I kind of liked, and I got hit in the face with a lunchbox, and it effed up my nose a little bit. So I'm going to say probably somewhere around there. I'm not sure if it was developed that much, but obviously I offended her, and obviously I got a lunchbox to the face, so probably somewhere around 4th or 5th grade, I'd say.
Well, what about the first time you actually got some, or played doctor?
It's oh man. I'm totally an awkward kid. I've literally had points where it's like, all of a sudden it's like, oh, fucking around a little bit. Pardon my French, apologies to the French, but it's like, memes, just fuck me. Okay.
It was. How old were you?
Well, those were a little bit later. No, I was actually a late bloomer. I won't specify, but
me too.
Well, we'll go in our 20s there. I won't specify for particular legal reasons at the moment, but it was one of those things where it's like, yeah, no, I had some fun before and everything, but I also kind of like grew up. It's like watching all those Disney movies. It's like, oh, you need to wait for the person you're gonna love for your entire life.
That's
right. I ain't gonna lie, man. I ain't gonna lie. Some of my friends' sisters before that, it's like they sit on your lap, and I'm like, oh God, baseball. Oh my God, baseball is
Yeah, some of them are good at that shit too, man. They know what they're doing. Just saying. Let's see. Well, all right, what about the first time you got fucked up?
All right.
Assuming you haven't.
Oh, yeah, well, probably. Unfortunately, and again, I do not recommend this.
No, we don't encourage the abuse of any type of substance, maybe legal or illegal. But it's legal.
IRATE Prostate and any of his subsidiary products do not condone underage drinking. But when I was underage drinking back in high school, yeah, just probably a couple of parties there. I remember at one point we had done the whole "Hey Mister" thing, and he had gotten us like a gallon of Poland Springs vodka. Now I don't know about you, but I didn't know that Poland Springs made vodka, and apparently it was like $8 for a gallon. So needless to say, we got what we paid for. And I ended up waking up, dude, we were making what I deemed bulldozers back in the day, which was Red Bull and vodka, which before it really seemed to be getting around, that's what I called it, because all I know is I kind of passed out. And then I woke up and the handle was mostly empty. There was still a little bit left. And I woke up with like $7 in my pocket. Because apparently people were making shots, but they left me money, which more or less covered the cost of it. So I'm like, oh, it was that. And then, well, I'll throw out a more entertaining time. A little bit later, probably within the past couple of years, was at the pub when pubs were still a thing back in the pre-plague days. Yes. And what was it? Somebody wanted to play Fireball from Pitbull, and it's like, oh, we're gonna take shots of Fireball. So we took shots of Fireball, but since it was a jukebox, there were like 6 more songs I had to play before it because nobody spent the extra dollar to fast forward it. So we took more shots of Fireball, and by the time we actually got to the song, we had all continued to drink. We took more shots of Fireball, and one of my friends that was a bartender, she's like, James, are you driving? I'm like, I probably shouldn't. She's like, all right, you crash at my place. I'm like, all right. Ooh. But since she wanted to take the back roads to get home, it turned from an 8-minute drive. She ended up taking a wrong turn. So about 38 minutes later, we got back to our place because it was one of those places where you're kind of going from more of a standard grid place to more of kind of an open country area. Mm-hmm. And the wrong turn she took us like 15 miles out of the way. So, and it was over all these rolling hills. And then I'm like, she's like, do you want me to pull over? I'm like, no, just go. As I'm like hanging out there, like throwing up along the side of her car and everything. She's like, oh yeah, no, I was holding you in there to make sure you didn't fall out. It's like, well, she's reciprocating the favor because totally did the same thing for her at one point.
That's right. I think we've all painted the side of our friends' cars with puke before. I don't know. A lot of people I've talked to.
Totally happens.
Right.
People just don't like to admit to things. It's like, who cares?
Isn't the devil's lettuce legal where you're at?
It totally is.
Okay, yeah. You want to talk about the first time you, or I don't even know if you do. I'm assuming shit here.
Well, no. Hey, you know what they say about assuming makes an ass out of you and me.
Exactly.
However, assumptions can be true. So,
right.
Since these current assumptions are totally true, I did have the benefit of kind of trying to be more of a straight-edge kid earlier on. I think the first time I smoked was probably later teens as well, which apparently is supposed to be a good thing now because they say as long as you're more of an adult and as long as you didn't smoke a whole bunch back in the day, you can create more neuron connections or anything. Not saying that necessarily not having neurons connected may actually protect you from other things. Again, I am not a doctor at all, but
right.
I didn't really start smoking on a more regular basis or more frequently until probably my early to mid 20s or so. Mostly just, a lot of it was for recreation, but then again, a lot of it was also for sleep because when I worked in the fitness industry, like I worked at a local gym.
Right.
And one of the things I noticed is like I would work there and I would still like work out for like 2 hours or so a day and I would still go to sleep, but dude, I couldn't get more than like 2.5 to like 3 hours or so of sleep a night, dude. It was freaking torture, but just small bit of cannabis, don't even have to do it every day, but like I could actually get like a night's sleep. And it made a huge difference, man. I don't know about you, but just I sit there because like I even tried like those melatonin and those other things, and like melatonin will work for like about a week, and then you just find yourself cranking up the dosage and everything. Right. And I'm like, it loses its effectiveness. So then you switch to the diphenhydramine stuff, and that kind of works for a little while. And you just switch them back and forth. It's like, okay, there's this. I realize inherently putting any type of smoke in your lungs is a bad thing, but I can take a quick toke from a bowl and for the next 2 days actually be able to sleep?
Yeah.
Huh. I wonder why this is illegal. It's not like people are making billions of dollars off of alternatives.
Right.
I don't know. That's my little cannabis rant.
That's right. I don't know. I'm totally for the legalize it. If you get anything out of this administration, Just saying. That's just my comment.
Dude, I think it's coming because I think what prevents this from happening and has prevented some of the feds from fully acknowledging it is we literally almost have the green road. What I mean by the green road is a lot of places on the West Coast and a lot of places on the East Coast do have legalization. And I believe once sea to shining sea, you have a physical ground route where you can travel from coast to coast, and it is legal in all those areas. It is not legal in all areas yet. But once that is, then the federal government basically has to address it, because now you're talking interstate commerce. And if the majority of the states have it as legal and you can go from sea to shining sea, at that point I'm like, you got to at least decriminalize it. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I totally agree. It's been too damn long, man, and I know too many people, you know, that have been considered as
People's
criminals.
lives get ruined. Dude, even my old real estate boss, like, dude, he's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. Extremely successful young man. But dude, he went to jail for having like a couple joints on him back in the day.
Yeah.
It's like, and like that was, I think some places it was criminal. It's like, you're gonna have a criminal record for having like a couple of joints on you and basically end up screwing up so much of your rest of your life. We're putting people in jail for this, and now we're literally like selling it and people are making millions of dollars. It's like, come on, man, we need some type of post-facto fixing of this crap.
Totally agree, man. Totally agree. All right, I'm gonna shift back and get back. All right, so you graduate high school. Was your high school experience like a pleasurable thing? And we had to deal with the, you know, when you change schools. But was
yeah,
you plan on going to your 20-year reunion?
Oh, totally. Like I've been to a couple. I think I missed the 15-year. I think I went to like the 5 and the 10-year. No, I'll totally do that just because I like getting around. It's also networking. I treat a lot of that stuff kind of like I do over here on the internet. It's like I go around. I like to meet people, and then through those people, I meet other people, and there'll be some folks there that I like, and there'll be some folks I'm like, oh, you know what? Hey, let me find out more about this person and everything, kind of like you do here on
man. It's like
brought to you by IRATE PROSTATE.
I totally agree with it, man. It makes a lot of sense to me.
Well, we also have the technology now, because this is this thing, and I think our current situation has helped accelerate this, in that you got so many folks that now the primary way they communicate is over these terms and everything, basically these different platforms, these different communication networks. We have the technology, we have the bandwidth. It's like, we're going to see, my opinion, an extreme change in how a lot of society functions. A lot of this is good. A lot of it is also going to be very negative as well, because I feel like we're kind of almost losing our humanity in a way as well, just because if you don't look at somebody face to face, and that's how we've developed over thousands of years to interact with each other. In the past 100, we've been focusing on primarily audio only. It's like, yeah, of course 144 characters is enough to fully communicate a very complicated, contentious issue. That's sarcasm.
Well, well, you mentioned it's something I think is important. I was watching an interview of Computing Forever. Are you familiar with this stuff? Mm-hmm. The Irish gentleman. Yes, Dave Cullen. And Blonde in the Belly of the Beast was interviewing him, and he was talking about, you know, he's had this return to spirituality in his own personal deal, right? In his own personal life. And he was talking about social distancing even having a deleterious effect on us, because spiritually we're meant to be social. You know, there's an element that maybe can't be measured, but I think it's essential to have that contact, you know, even if it's, you know, sporadic. But you know, and he said that the 6 feet mark was kind of like, you know, where it loses effect and stuff. I don't know. I found that interesting. You got me to thinking about it. Because
I think there is totally something to that, man. Sorry, you were going on.
Go ahead.
I think he's totally right about that in this particular context here.
Mm.
Because now we're literally playing keep away. It's kind of like back in the day, it's like, oh, hot lava, don't touch the floor. Now it's like everyone becomes that hot, smoldering boulder. Keep away. Why? Well, they might have something that hurts us. We're literally treating each other like we're freaking Linus from the Peanuts. It's like, and that just brings so many different things to context. It's like, okay, yeah, are there different inequalities between folks depending on the situation? Yeah, no, that is totally a thing. But now we're suspect. We're having in our mind that everyone else around us is dangerous. We're covering up our faces so you can't necessarily see all those additional facial features from somebody just having just like a silly smile on their face, or maybe they're in pain or something like that. And this even came up, I remember a couple years ago, even on Mad Dodge, God rest his soul, like we were covering a story, I think it was either Washington or Oregon, but the state senators, when they're debating somebody, they couldn't even look the other person in the eye. Right. They need to communicate through like the president of the Senate at the time. And I'm like, okay, unless that person literally has like a medical diagnosis where they're not supposed to look somebody in the eye, like taking that away from people, looking into somebody's eyes, like supposed to be the entrance into their soul, like taking that away from people is just so detrimental, because now it's like, okay, you just talk to another person, but you're not even grasping and viewing their humanity.
And
that
yeah,
it's so negative in my opinion.
And in addition to that, it also helps you objectify, with the masks and shit, where you don't see a human being necessarily, not you per se, but one, doesn't see just a human being.
It takes away from the human context.
Exactly.
And yes, we are kind of adapting to this, but it's something we need to acknowledge and everything. And like I feel bad, especially for like a lot of the kiddos growing up, where it's like you see these little kids and they're going around with masks and everything. And it's like, don't get me wrong, I see little kids with like cool Spider-Man masks and everything. And like, I happen to like Halloween and stuff, so masks aren't really a big thing for me. Yeah. But like, if this is all these kids are knowing, like they go out into public, they must cover up their face and everything. And I realize these are extraordinary times there and everything, and hopefully things will be squared away by the summer or so. But if that's all these kids know, it's like that experience growing up is vastly different than like what I had, and I assume that what you had and a lot of folks in the chat have had, from just going outside and like hitting a tree with a stick. Like, those were good times.
Yeah, no doubt. And a lot of people, it's really there's a real stressful, I think, thing. For people listening to the recorded version of this, it's the 31st of January 2021, and we're almost a year into the lockdown aspect of the COVID thing. So that's kind of what we're referring to. Not kind of, exactly what we're referring to.
I love the historical citation.
Yeah,
when the internet archaeologists come back like hundreds of years from now, assuming we don't blow ourselves up. Dude, no, this is important.
Yeah, man. Well, this is, I don't have a genetic legacy I'm leaving behind, so I've got a digital one.
Yeah, leave them a memetic legacy.
Exactly. Weave the memetic legacy. I like that. All right, so let's see. All right, we're getting into aesthetics now. What was the first concert you ever went to? You're a music person?
I'd say it was a Manson show. It was at the old Foxborough Stadium before they'd finished building Gillette, because I think I went there when I was like 15 with some friends, and off in the distance you could see them actually building Gillette. So we went into Foxborough and everything, and I remember we were moshing there with some folks and everything, and like I assumed there was this big guy, because at least bigger than me as a 15-year-old kid. And I'm like, oh, he must be a Marine and stuff. And we were moshing. Oh, dude, I was getting my butt kicked because I was a 15-year-old kid. But I freaking loved it. Just freaking jumping around in the pit to like, the beautiful people. And just, dude, it was great. And I remember getting back to my friend's house, passing out. And then when I got up the next day, I noticed, I'm like, oh, there's blood on my sock. And then I checked my leg. And I realized I wasn't bleeding. I'm like, oh, that's not my blood.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. Welcome to metal, man. It's like I was listening to some Metallica earlier, and there's Disposable Heroes off the Master of Puppets album. There's a point where it goes into this thrash metal beat, bucka 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 bucka, that kind of thing. And I was seeing, this. I was like, I need to be in the middle of that pit, man.
Yep.
In thinking of how like a good one looks like a spiral, like a black hole, right?
I never thought about that until you just mentioned that, but that is kind of true. The way, because my experience, like there was chaos in the pit, but there was a code to the chaos. Like there was a code in the pit where you don't throw fists at people, and if somebody gets knocked down, you pick them back up so they don't get
trampled. It's aggressive. Right, it's aggressive, and it's still there's a social, altruistic aspect to it. It's hard to describe if you have never experienced it. But yeah, it's kind of I guess that's kind of like a social group experience that people are not going to be able to do anymore.
It's changed. It's changed because even in the past few years, like even if you get tickets to like the pit area, there very often aren't really mosh pits anymore because so many folks down there, they just have their phones up there recording.
Right.
And the dynamic is so different. I'm like, you're looking through a screen trying to capture something to show everyone else how well you were doing at this moment, making them wish that they were there. I'm like, but doesn't that kind of take away from the experience of like actually being there and like enjoying the moment? I don't know. It's weird, man. But this whole thing with just everything that's going on, it's like you're thinking about like I still see concert tickets are for sale for this upcoming summer. Like they do seem to be there. They are planning, because I remember I went to like a Rob Zombie video and it's like something within July. So at least right now they're still planning to get back to it. Like here's hoping for that.
No doubt. So all right, what is your go-to music? What's your favorite band?
I go with Rob Zombie.
Yeah.
It's my go-to. It probably goes to kind of like the foundational thing of I was growing up, the Hellbilly Deluxe album came out, as well as you had a couple other albums that came out around that time. I happened to have like a Rob Zombie CD. The early age of the internet was kind of coming around, and Napster was a thing. So while you were totally unbeknownst to borrowing music from people and simply listening to it, I remember playing games like Utopia and Dominion, which apparently Utopia is in its 90th age now, because I just got an email the other day asking me to come back, and just playing a lot of those script-based like combat and almost Command and Conquer style, just within a computer screen using numbers games, and listening to like Living Dead Girl or Humanoid Phenomenon. And I would get up and like during the days of the summer be like, all right, I'm listening to these songs in this combination, I'm going to log into this account here and everything. And I don't know, it was kind of like the earlier days of the internet where it's like you didn't have the Fortnite, and like Battle.net was kind of just getting up and running for like Diablo and everything. But like this was something that you could access from browsers and just play within the browsers. And I just find it interesting that so many of our things, we get so advanced, but we tend to come full circle. And you see a lot of things now just being straight up browser based. It's like, okay, here's a game that is popular. You can literally play it from your browser, or if you're utilizing StreamYards or something, just trying to keep things simple, because I think as humanity, we get very fancy for certain things for a while, and then we just kind of reduce this to something that's more easily accessible to a lot more folks. So there's a profit motive there, and as well as, well, you want people to use your stuff. I forget what the question was.
Well, we were talking about music. All right. So what about, do you have any guilty pleasures?
Oh, as far as music, or?
Yeah.
Oh, Weird Al.
Yeah, man.
I love Weird Al, man. It's so freaking good.
He's fun, man.
What's your favorite Weird Al song?
Oh, it would have to be all right. So, I Lost on Jeopardy. It's a tie between I Lost on Jeopardy and Eat It.
Eat it. I gotta go with The Saga Begins. Just the whole references, because it's like I like I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan, but I like Star Wars. But if anything, that song made me like Star Wars more.
Right.
You bring up all these Easter eggs and everything. It's like this here Anakin guy. Maybe Vader someday later. Now he's just a small fry. I'm just like, that's beautiful.
All right. So, talking about that, what do you think about The Mandalorian? Have you seen that yet?
I've watched about all of 2 to 3 minutes of the end of season 2. I'm not sure if you want to mention spoilers, even though it's not really a spoiler. But
have you seen the whole series?
I have not. I plan on watching it at some point. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, I know a lot of the stuff has come out. I do also hang out with certain groups of folks who are like, oh, well, this isn't necessarily that good. So it's like, on my list of things to watch, there are so many things to watch, whether it's anime, whether it's different Star Wars. Because I still haven't even seen Solo. Like, as far as Marvel goes, I still need to finish Black Panther. I haven't watched Captain Marvel. There's a couple other things, and it's like, I'll watch them at some point, but as far as my hierarchy of priorities, they're not quite there. But The Mandalorian, we'll see what they end up coming out with, and I'll probably catch up. Basically, it's like, when I get Disney Plus, I'll just binge all of it, rather than having to pay for multiple months of it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, that makes sense. I'll save my opinion for it from when you do see it. We'll get together and talk about it. Because I've got some stuff to say about it.
No. Feel free. Like,
not in a bad way or not in a good. I think there's an interesting conversation there. So, well, all right. So, we're kind of. What about? All right. So, kind of, I screwed up my order here, and this I should have asked you first about relationships and what about? Are you dating anybody right now?
I am not.
Okay.
I am not at the moment. No, there's no Mrs. Memes or ex-Mrs. Memes or ex-ex Mrs. Memes at the moment. No.
Okay. Are you adverse to family?
Oh, totally not.
Maybe getting married and having some kids? Good.
I got nothing wrong with that. It's, again, it need to be the right person, just because if I'm going to say basically forever, I want to make sure that I truly mean that.
I hear you. Because, a lot of people, I don't know, a vow is different than a promise to me. So, and that I've always had that kind of attitude about that. Or any kind of oath, anything like that, I see it as a completely different ball of wax.
Well, it's honor rather than it's like,
yes.
IRATE. I will be here at 4:30. It's like, oh crap, I'm a couple of minutes late. Oh, technically, I did break my promise. I eventually showed up, whereas I vow that I will be with you and faithful to you forever.
Right.
For as long as I live. That's a strong vow.
Exactly. Even kind of like, an oath someone takes to defend the country or some stuff, All right. So, getting back into aesthetics, dip in, dip out. I know it sounds, rhyme or reason does not exist. All right. So, are you a fan of horror films?
I do. I am a fan of horror films.
All right. So, who's your favorite horror director?
I'm terrible with directors. I don't know the name. Who directed like Aliens?
Oh, that's James Cameron.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I like James Cameron stuff. He puts out some good quality things. I realize it's kind of, we're hitting hybrids now with a lot of different horror movies, kind of like, well, are they horrors? Are they horror comedies? Are they horror fiction or something like that?
Right, and then there's
Aliens.
right. There's body horror. There's like Asian horror. You know, with the there's definitely all kinds of
technically, the original Godzilla movie was a science fiction horror movie.
It sure was,
the
man.
The way they had it set up, man, it's like you got William Burr there and everything. It's like, holy crap! You look at the devastation. That was a horror movie, man.
That first movie is the only movie I wasn't alive when they made it. Even when they sent the American version over. But I remember seeing, like Godzilla versus King Kong, Godzilla versus Megalon, Godzilla versus Mecha Godzilla. All at the drive-in.
Oh, how was it at the drive-in? I've never seen a Godzilla movie at a drive-in.
Dude, it was fantastic. My dad would literally take me either Friday or Saturday, and sometimes Friday and Saturday we'd go to the drive-in and watch double features. And it's usually shitty horror films, Hammer and good stuff, right? It's all kinds of. The Godzilla stuff was fantastic to see, in that era. It lit me up as a kid, I loved Godzilla.
I mean, it totally resonated with me. Like I said, I mean, I literally had a progress report where I was memeing Godzilla, and it's like, well, he's acting like a dinosaur. Well, he's associating with children.
Well, see, the reason I asked you about the turtle thing is because I was a big Gamera fan. So,
I did like Gamera as well. There were a lot of movies that ended up getting translated a lot later because Gamera actually had some badass story. Because one of my favorite Gamera movies was like Gamera versus Gauss. It's like, wait a second, you got this giant mutant like vampire bat that shoots these lasers that like cut through like everything, and like the humans were actually kind of ingenious. It's like, wait a second, if we spin him around really fast, he'll be perfectly like immobile and everything. So they're getting him on this thing, like giving all the synthetic blood and everything. And well, I'm like, how far is that away from like some of the Twilight series? We just added like, I don't know, like teen pop to it.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Oh yeah, some of these good classical, storylines, man. They've been, ripped from generation to generation. I saw a really good old horror film called V, a Russian horror film from the '60s. Had a very Mario Bava kind of look to it, like Black Sunday. Have you ever seen that movie, or Black Sabbath?
I have not. No.
Yeah.
What was it about?
Well, the Russian thing that's available on Shudder right now, man. I highly recommend that. If you love horror movies, AMC Plus really does this thing where you get Shudder and then you get IFC International Film and Sundance Film Channel all together, and plus AMC stuff, and that's like $8 for a month.
I got you. No, that's actually a pretty good deal.
It is a good deal because
movies and everything. Yeah.
Well, Shudder is like $5.99, by itself. So I mean, that's just like it's a no-brainer. And there's always something good on Shudder, dude. You can always find something good. It is like stuff from the past, present, the current. So I don't know. I get fired up about this. I love horror films. Love it, man.
Right on, brother.
That's right. All right, so we'll move on. We kind of touched on sci-fi too with aliens, but do you have a favorite science fiction author or fantasy?
Author. I don't read as many books as I should.
Right.
I'm not gonna lie. I was gonna say the only one I could come to mind right now is I don't know, Roald Dahl. I don't know. I read a lot of Roald Dahl books in school. I'm not sure if that says a lot about me or because like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, dude, and like even the Great Glass Elevator and stuff, man. They went into that. It's like the battling of vermicious canids and everything there. It's like, dude, those were wonderful stories, and they often actually had like some moral foundations, which was really good as well. Yeah. Because it's like you can tell a story and you can touch upon some very serious topics, but I don't know, I kind of go back to the whole mimetic of like G.I. Joe. It's like you can have something, there can be violence in it, but as long as you bring folks back around and try to communicate a positive message by the end, I think that justifies a lot of the things.
Man, and I'm not one of those snobby people. It's like sometimes I'll watch a movie that everybody will pshaw, but it's like it's like, what do you expect?
Like what you like, and this is the
yeah,
the
man,
thing,
exactly.
Man. It's like there's some things that are so bad
Fat Andy.
that they're good. Like one of my favorite things growing up was, sorry to cut you off, man, but it's like growing up, you're watching all these different series and stuff, and then I came across Spectre Man, which if you have a chance, watch it, because it is totally one of the most comical things. In hindsight, you're looking back and like, all right, there's totally some racist aspects in it as well and everything. But you're looking at it, it's like they made fun of it so bad where it's like one of the kaiju that he's fighting is like a giant two-headed rat. It's like, all right, well, how would you fit a dude in a suit with a two-headed rat if each of the hands is going to be a rat head? Right. Well, it also had a massive hump in the middle where the dude's head was.
That's hilarious.
It was so comical, man.
Yes, no doubt, man. And of course it's going to stand on its hind legs. Which I don't think it would happen, man. Yeah. All right, so what about video games? What's your favorite video game?
Ooh, favorite game?
Before you get into it, let's say hi to a couple people. Dr. Kiev said hello to you. And Dr. Kiev.
What up, brother?
Yes. Fat Andy and Cynical Lindsay have joined us. JP, I think I saw Becca Fairley and Stan Altsch. So sorry. I just want to...
Yeah. Well, we got a Fat Andy as well. Welcome, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you, one. Thank you all. As far as my favorite video game, I'm going to have to give it to Super Mario RPG. And the reason I'm going to give it to Super Mario RPG was, again, going with the timing and everything growing up, probably back within school, I could start that game on a Friday night, like after school and everything, play through that game through like the dark part of like the initial forest and everything. And once you clear that boss out, I could get up the next morning and then literally just be at like a much brighter point in the game. And by the end of the weekend, pretty much beat almost everything in the game and have everything. And just the way they combined Mario with RPG aspects along with a combat system that wasn't just turn-based, where you could actually capitalize and do critical hits and do more damage and actually have some strategy and like a fairly complex makeup with your limited characters. It was fun, and they also parodied a lot of things like the Power Rangers with the Axum Rangers and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it was a fun game. It combined so many aspects in something that was lighthearted that you could literally just play through in a weekend.
Nifty. All right, so maybe we can talk about. So, what's your favorite anime series? And character?
Naruto.
Okay. What about character?
It's for anime that is a tough one.
I thought you were totally going to say One Punch Man.
I realize. Oh, you gave me such a great opening there. I personally think that the story of, at least through Naruto Shippuden, is probably one of the greatest anime stories of all time.
I have not seen it.
In total, well, it's so many episodes, man. You got the first Naruto, which was more of the younger kids thing, which you get about 220 episodes there, and then Naruto itself is like
holy shit,
700. So and now they're into Boruto, and they're up to like episode 60 or something, which I watched the movie when they came out with it, but I'm like, I go before Naruto and Son Goku, just because, well, Rock of the Dragon, Dragon Ball Z, yeah. I don't know, that also inspired me to get like weighted training clothes and stuff, or at least ankle weights, leg weights, and like a vest, and kind of go running in that. Not that I recommend that at all, but definitely makes a difference when you take those weights off. Rock Lee had the same thing in there. I'm gonna have to say, overall, as much as I do love Saitama and One Punch Man, and the first season of One Punch Man is just a complete work of art, in my opinion.
I love it, man.
I gotta give the edge to Naruto Uzumaki, just because, well, I want to be Hokage.
Are you talking about the Uzumaki manga where they made the movie? Have you seen that thing, man?
Wait, what? What am I missing?
Well, Uzumaki means spiral, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and there's a manga called Uzumaki, which is about this town where everything starts becoming spiral. It's weird, man, and it's really good. And the movie was really, I enjoyed it thoroughly, man. But yeah, everything becomes, people start becoming obsessed with spirals, and it seems like spirals are killing everybody. So
well, to be fair, the universe, isn't it made of spirals? Didn't we touch upon that in like the mosh pit that kind of started looking like galactic clusters and everything interacted? I don't know. So I guess spirals do kind of kill us.
Yeah, interesting, isn't it? All right, so we're shifting gears again, and we're back. All right, so do you have any scars, tattoos, or piercings?
I have well, it's kind of hard to tell now, but I did have a scar beneath, I think it was my right eye that I had actually got at, I think it was Ozfest. And I was in the mosh pit, and at one point I took an elbow to the temple, which, if you've ever taken like an elbow or something to the temple, and you split open there, you start bleeding like a mofo. And I was in the mosh pit. And I remember at one point, somebody from the event staff was like, hey man. I'm like, why? I come over. He's like, you're bleeding out pretty bad. It's like, oh, it's like, you can't be in the mosh pit if you're bleeding like that. And I'm like, I don't want to hear those words, but I understand, because you don't want somebody getting blood all over you, going back to my first concert story. Right. So it's like, okay, that's recommended. So I go down to the little tent and everything there, the little medical tent. And they put like some Vaseline or just some type of like petroleum jelly or something just kind of over it to stop me from bleeding everywhere. And they're like, yeah, you probably should go to the hospital and get some stitches. I'm like, I'm not leaving until Korn plays. So like, well, we can't make you go home. So once I stopped bleeding, I jumped back in the mosh pit. We finished the show. I ended up going to the hospital like 2 o'clock in the morning. And I remember I spoke with a nice nurse. He's like, oh, yeah. He's like, yeah, I'm on a 24-hour shift and everything. And then the doctor came. And the doctor, he was very nice, but and I apologize for my racism, I'm pretty sure he was a Swedish doctor, and for some reason I just remember him sounding exactly like the Swedish chef from the Muppets. And at one point he goes to numb me with like the Novocaine or whatnot. So he takes the needle, he jabs it into like my upper temple/cheek area, and then he puts the numbing agent in. And as he's pulling it out, he squirts the rest of the numbing agent across my face, and he's like, comes back with a needle and thread. He's like, are you afraid of the stitches? I'm just sitting back there looking up, and I'm like, no, I'm afraid of you. I didn't verbalize that part, but that's what was going through my mind. And then he sewed me up, and a couple of weeks later, the doctor that took out the stitches was like, was this guy effing with you? Because like apparently the ends on the stitches he had there were longer than other folks had done. But I thought it was kind of cool, because I kind of felt like I was like Arnold Schwarzenegger, like the Terminator, and had like a cool scar or something. Nice. So that's how I justified it.
Right.
It's mostly gone away. As far as tattoos, I have truth in Latin on my arm in the text from the popular cult movie, The Boondock Saints.
Yes, Boondock Saints, I was going to say.
Yeah.
Nice. And see, people, would you dox yourself if you said you were like from near there? Or?
I don't really care all that much. No, I am from the greater Boston area as well. And to make the story a little bit more cringe, about a year before I got it, one of my best friends, he had worked within a law enforcement capacity, and he had Equitas on his left arm.
Nice.
And he used to say the Boondock Saints was basically his Bible, and I had never watched it. And he's like, oh, memes. Well, you're like an honest guy. You believe in the truth. He's like, you should get Veritas on your right arm. And I'm like, oh, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. So about a year goes by, and then my cousin gets back from a tour in Iraq, and he's like, I'm going to get some ink. You wanna see what they have? I'm like, sure, I'll go. I go there. I ask the guy if he can do this. I show him it. It was like the number 2 or 3 portrait guy in New England the year or so before. So I'm like, all right, just some stencil outlines. He traced it on. He filled it in. I watched the movie Transformers while he was doing that, and I ended up with the truth on my arm.
Nice.
After saying it was the stupidest idea I'd ever heard about a year before, so.
What, you got any piercings?
No actual piercings. I have been jabbed with pointy things before, but no piercings.
All right. What's the most useless talent you have?
Useless? I mean, I used to be able to put my legs behind my head. It was a much younger memes.
That doesn't sound useless at all.
I never utilized it for potential things right there. I think there are some pictures of me as a younger individual, probably not 18, where I'm just rolled up into a pretzel. But I hear you.
I had to take the shot, brother.
Oh no, dude!
It was
laid up
there.
perfectly. It was laid up. It was laid up. It was like T-ball, man.
It up, brother.
So that's just gonna take a whack.
Mm-hmm.
But that was probably I can't really do so much in later years because of lack of probably stretching a whole bunch and then actually finishing off puberty and everything. Usually, you lose a little bit of flexibility. But I did used to do gymnastics.
Indeed.
So either between that or being able to touch my tongue to my nose. But.
Neat. Yeah, you got a Gene Simmons kind of thing going on there with your tongue too.
And that is true.
I noticed that. Yeah.
That was also a Halloween thing back for the Halloween dance. And
do you have the septum severed?
It's no. Well, actually, what the heck is that?
You know there's like a little connecty thing in the middle of your tongue, right at the base.
Yeah.
Some people have.
No. It's still there. It's still there.
Okay. All right. Cool.
No, that makes sense. I don't know. Never studied biology.
Simmons had his, I think, clipped. I think it was accidental. Some shit. I don't remember. I don't know. They're retiring this year.
Oh
shit. Mr. Scott. I see you, man. Cynical Lindsay says, "Hey, Moonbase Radio. I said your name earlier. Hello." Salute again.
That's true. And hey, you know what? Flamingos fart too.
Yes, the fluffing flamingos. That's in the South. The girls don't fart; they fluff.
Oh, I thought they went poof with
it's
pixie glitter.
It's a goofy Southern Belle thing. All right, so in 40 years, what do you think people will be nostalgic for?
Oh, that depends on where we are in 40 years. I don't know. The way some people are talking would be, I don't know, human contact on a large scale. I think what we might see is at some point, it may be before or after 40 years, is that there'll be a nostalgia for people and actual human interactions that I think we took for granted because there is so much automation coming, and even Mr. Andrew Yang harped upon this the past couple of years. We are entering a fourth industrial revolution. Depending on the rollout, technology, and how it is implemented, a lot of jobs aren't going to exist as we know them, currently. So since that's going to be a thing, we're going to have to account for that. And I think at some point, actually going to a store and actually interacting with a clerk and actually maybe having a conversation, I don't know, maybe we'll see upscale premium places that will kind of do that. Try to have, it's kind of like movie theaters were doing before the whole current situation,
right,
where basically a lot of movie theaters, rather than having the old cheaper plasticky seats and everything, they started putting those big lazy boys and stuff in there where you could recline and actually have room for your butt and everything, and actually have drinks and have spots for your nachos, and they made it more of an upscale experience. So I think we're going to see something like that with human contact. Again, that's where my mind goes. So I think it's nice. I like people.
Interesting. Yes. If you could know the absolute and total truth to one question, what would that be?
Oh. Why? That's just, I don't know. I that might be a completely different question depending on the individual, but I don't know. That's the most I can boil it down to figure out as much as possible.
I understand.
I mean, there are other things. Just why? I don't know. I feel like that would be enlightening. I mean, I might have my own hypotheses, but go on.
If you could go back in time and spend a week with anybody, who would it be and why?
Ooh. A week with anybody. I feel like I think my grandfather would have been cool because he kind of died like right before I was around. The way my dad ain't no spring chicken. My dad's like 82 years old now.
Oh wow.
Yeah, actually I think he turned 83 or 83 this year. But no, he waited until he was later to have me. But like the way he describes like my grandfather was just like he seemed to be a good man, but could be a very let me put it this way. I guess he could be a very irate person at one point. He had a very heavy foot because like my grandfather actually like he was a factory owner, man. Like he made furniture and stuff in the factory.
Oh, wow.
And apparently at one point he sold some furniture to the former governor of Massachusetts. And the governor liked it so much, he's like, is there anything I can do for you? He's like, I have a rather heavy foot. I have a tendency to get speeding tickets. So apparently they gave my grandfather the name of the clerk who all speeding tickets within the Commonwealth of Massachusetts went through. So he literally could just drive as fast as he wanted, got as many speeding tickets, and she took care of them all for him. Which,
nice.
I mean, that's complete crony capitalism and everything, I guess, but this was also a while ago, so we don't want to be chrono supremacists. But at one point, my dad was with my grandfather. My grandfather got a ticket, and my grandfather was like, oh yeah, he accepts it. And apparently, I think my dad overheard him on the phone one day. He's like, and he started freaking out. It's like, what's going on? Apparently, the woman that took care of all his tickets retired. So then he got, I don't know, just the way he describes him. I mean, like, and the fact I never got to know him would, I mean, if you could do anybody, it'd be so great. But just from what I've heard, just being able to gauge a person and another human being from their character, and especially gauging the time period, because it's like, I also don't know, like, what ancient Greece would be like or something, but I have some idea of what, I don't know, like, the 50s and 60s were like.
Okay, I'm going to talk to the chat real quick. All right, so this is, if you've got any questions, jot it down. Go ahead and start putting them in the chat. Put question marks, multiple question marks, so we'll know they're addressed to the memes. And while you're doing that, I'm going to do the Lipton pivot question thing. And this is in honor of James Lipton, the Inside the Actors Studio guy. Also Larry King, he passed away a couple weeks ago. Man. Yeah. So, some of the greats. And he would, James Lipton asked everybody that he interviewed this set of questions, right? It's kind of rapid fire and not necessarily ponder it too long. What's your favorite word?
Turtle.
What's your least favorite word?
Female.
What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Pop of the crowd.
What turns you off?
Crappy things.
What's your favorite curse word? You can say it.
For fuck's sake.
Okay. What sound or noise do you love?
Ooh. A riff.
What sound or noise do you hate? Oh, that's good. I understand. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Be a teacher.
What profession would you not like to do?
Prosecutor.
And if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say to you when you arrive at the pearly gates?
That'll do, memes. That'll do.
All right. So we got some questions in the chat. I see. Goatman wants to know, what is the melting point of hafnium carbide?
7,052 degrees, or 3,900 Celsius.
Wow. I didn't know was that a legit question?
I Googled it. I saw him posted in the chat, and I was curious myself.
Slick, man. What's your favorite action star of the 80s and 90s? Or stars?
Oh. It's a damn good question. Harrison Ford.
All right. I was just thinking about that movie, Predator. Man, there were so many solid movies that came out there.
I
RoboCop.
Like but I was never a huge Arnold fan, to be fair. It's like, I feel like
I feel you.
So many people like Arnold. I didn't just want to like him just because everyone else liked him.
Right.
I say this and I say Harrison Ford, so I mean, take it as you will.
Well, no, yeah, man. No, he's an everyman. That makes sense perfectly to me. Let's see. Someone, Mr. Scott. Let's see. Who was better? Who got the better steak sub? Carl's or D'Angelo's?
I'm not sure if I've ever been to Carl's Jr., so I have to go with D'Angelo's, but I have limited information, so my apologies, Duck Dog.
Got you. So when he says steak sub, is he talking about a Philly cheesesteak kind of thing? Or is it something completely different?
I mean, I think a Philly cheesesteak would be a Philly cheesesteak. My personal recommendation is, last time I was in Philly, don't get at the random hotel you're staying at. You need to go to one of the real places. The steak was kind of dry.
Got you. Favorite Marvel or DC character?
Wolverine? Oh wait, no, strike that. Deadpool.
Okay. Favorite Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle character?
Michelangelo.
What do you think of Duck Avenger?
I don't know what that is, but if it's like Darkwing Duck, I'm totally down for it.
How bad is the Carol Danvers movie?
Haven't watched it. Well, actually, no. I watched her in. Oh no, Carol Danvers. Okay, I was gonna say the actress was in Kong Skull Island. She did a good job in that.
Yeah, the same actress.
That's the thing. A lot of folks get a lot of crap for, it's like the roles. It's like, well, they're also playing the character with what they got and everything.
Yeah, people don't understand how that works. You know, politics with fucking agents has something to do with it a lot of the time. You know,
well, and also what gets used. That's the thing. You go back and you hear all these different things. I realize I'm getting us sidetracked and going over, but when you get this information, it's like, all right, these scenes were filmed. If we had these scenes for these movies, I think folks would have been a lot more open to it. I'm just saying.
Okay, so the Duck Avenger is a Disney fandom. All right, so maybe Donald Duck as a superhero? I'm just spitballing a guess there.
No, I'm seeing what looks like Donald, but I don't know, is that Daisy? No, that is Donald. That was Super Donald and Phantom Duck. Oh,
gotcha.
Well, I should probably learn this for the greater.
I like Scrooge McDuck.
Scrooge was fun.
Yeah, that's that. You know. Do you have any collections?
I collected rocks. I like collecting geodes and everything. That
Nice.
was fun. I had a cool triangle crystal that I still am trying to convince myself I simply misplaced somewhere and haven't actually lost, but I probably lost it. But it's just a little piece of quartz, and I don't know. I feel like it'd give me some personal spiritual insight into something. So I realize I'm sounding like some recent politicians here with the crystals, but I think there's a lot we can learn from them.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a favorite book?
Oh. The sad thing right now is probably one of the best books I ever read was Mankind, A Tale of Blood and Sweat Socks by Mick Foley.
Yeah, and when we were talking about the Wonka, what was the writer's name again?
Roald Dahl. Dahl.
Yeah. So yeah, he was talking about that earlier back. I don't think you were here.
I probably just changed my answer. I'm a complete phony.
No, I think you can have a favorite author, and have a favorite author that that helped, that inspired you while you were growing up. I think they're not mutually exclusive.
True that.
Let's see. He have different names in different countries. Scrooge McDuck have a superhero persona as well. Okay. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Did you ask the collection question yet? Yes, I just did. Let's see. The delay might have something to do with that. All right. I'm going to move on, and we're kind of back at the YouTube thing, and this is where we'll go ahead and slide back in the foyer. Like what I like to call, I don't know what to call the ready room, the happy room.
Well, it's all right. It's all right. We all need a place where we can trip over an ottoman.
Yeah, exactly. Like Dick Van Dyke. All right, let me I'm gonna pop up the Tool guitar player just a little bit. Adam Jones is a fucking killer guitar player.
Gotta have those riffs, man. We gotta live across the line, dude. I wear headphones for so much of the day now. Like, I'll fall asleep listening to like podcasts. I'll like wake up, I'm like, I think these things are on my head more than they are not on my head, and I'm pretty sure that's probably not a good thing at all.
Right.
But all I remember is growing up, it's like I wish I had a soundtrack to my life, and now I can literally have a soundtrack to my life.
Indeed. So all right, who would you say is a criminally undersubscribed YouTuber out of the guys that you hang out and you know around here, or even people you don't know too well, right?
Correct.
Director
Arcater.
Indeed.
The quality of show and production he puts out along Director Arcater and Director Arcater Live. I mean, the amount of input he has there, the maintaining some semblance of minor control over the amount of chaos that he has with his guests that have included myself at some points. I mean, I gotta give the man mad props. He just puts on such a good show, and the stuff he deals with, and being able to do it in just as like a straight guy. And I'm not saying straight in any type of sexuality, but just as like not sitting there and succumbing to like often immense like preclusion to laughter and everything. It's like, the man is talented. I have broken him several times, so.
Good. All right, so who's a YouTuber you think is way overhyped?
Yeah. I don't really want to throw Tim Pool under the bus, because I consume so much of his content there, but I fear he's... And again, maybe it's not necessarily overhyped because it is relevancy there, but I think he's experiencing so much audience capture, and I think he realizes, and he's kind of trying to get away from it as well. But it's, I don't know. I don't really. That's the thing. Anybody that's going out of their way to just kind of like, if you're putting out just rage candy, and it's just like, all right, I'm getting a whole bunch of views because I am hating on these people. It's like, well, you can do that, and the algorithm shows, and even there have been studies on, okay, what generates high levels of engagement and sharing to help things go viral? Things that get people emotionally driven and stirred.
Absolutely, yeah, that's persuasion models. Yeah, they key on adversity and anger.
And I do agree with Uzi that a lot of things that Tim does, because like if you're putting out a video and stuff, if you just listen to somebody's tones and emotion and everything, I mean, this is corporate sales 101. and they would teach you this. It's like, if you showed up, your average Sally, Dick, or Jane isn't going to sign paperwork committing to a $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 project with somebody they just met 3 hours ago using logic. No. You need to take them along an emotional roller coaster, bring them up, bring them down, bring them up, bring them down to the point where, like, I need what you are offering me now to solve my problems.
Right.
And that's kind of what it is. And we all have our own biases and everything, depending on how we grew up in our situation. So it's like, all right, you can hit on that for resonance, and it really is just memetics there. I think we can do better in the memetic realm as well, because like you said right here, you're leaving your digital memetic heritage there. Like, people could go back in literally 1,000 years and actually like hear this exact interview and us discussing this topic and being like, oh, maybe there were some small folks out there that could maybe see what this is, or we'll all be something horrible because we can't overcome the hatred within us or something. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Well, all right. So, do you have anything that you want to promote right here? Anything new coming up? Something excited
what
about?
What I got coming up tomorrow actually is I am part of the greater Dark Horse community, the Dark Horse podcast from Brett Weinstein and his wife Heather Haying. And what that means is I'm a member of Heather's Patreon for $5 a month, which gives me access to their Discord. So I just kind of go on there and I talk to some folks, and I've got a couple of the individuals from that Discord I was chatting with the other day, and I found out there's something called fusion theory that apparently was a thing, and it kind of sounds like, on cursory level, it's kind of like the Hegelian dialect. It's like you take one view, you take another view, you kind of synthesize the best parts about them, you take out the worst parts, and you see where you can come to a chord. It seems to be, from the initial wiki article that I started reading, was that it was kind of trying to fuse kind of like some more traditional, historically, at least in American context, social conservative with some other ways in order to try to make something better. So I'm going to be reviewing that with the gentleman that was discussing it with me, as well as another person. We're going to be doing that at about 4:30, 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time tomorrow.
Hey, and something that I learned earlier this week was that I had been unsubscribed from you, dude. And I didn't even know that. So yeah, people, check your subscriptions. Don't assume that because YouTube likes doing that shit. They do it to me, so I'm a beat dog. I don't even worry about it no more. But I did want you to have a heads up on that. Let's see. All right. So, share your channel. I've got the links in the description to your Twitter and to your YouTube. And if there's anything else you want to promote later, I'll pop it in. I didn't even think about that, and I apologize, man. Just pop it in the DMs, and I think I can squeeze it in, while we're talking right now.
Yeah, no worries, man. No worries. Yes, I'm Memes. You can find me on this YouTube right here at youtube.com/the Memes of Destruction, or on the Twitters at Meme Destruction, as well as his links and stuff in the bio, yada, yada, yada. Again, like what you like, watch what you like. Nobody is compelling anybody to do anything.
Yeah.
We like having a good time. And like I say on my Patreon, I've been creating awkward moments since 2020.
Yeah, and that's kind of my deal, is take what you need and leave the rest, Yeah, we're just traveling on this thing, and it's cool to hang out and talk with the people that we're bumping into right now, which is a good thing, I think.
Hey, we're just digital surfers on this cosmic wave right now.
All right, and tonight I'm going to be with Becca Fairley on her show, 8 o'clock Central. It'll be 9 Eastern and 6 Pacific. If I'm correct, I believe I'm correct. And tomorrow, Becca and I will be. I still haven't even picked out for the show, but I don't know. Anyway, it's.
See what happened.
Well, yeah, I'm going over some old Cold War stuff and stuff. So anyway, Just teaching like a generation that doesn't know as much about communism as my generation was taught. So I'm kind of spreading that Cold War mentality, and that's kind of what it's
that's
about.
The thing. Every generation's a little bit different and stuff. We can't forget the #1 doctor recommended brand of cigarette.
Exactly, man. It was Salem's at one point. So just remember that. And on that note, it's time to say goodbye, dude. It's the bottom of the hour. We have done it. Man, that went quick, you know? It's like you come around the bottom of the hour and then boom, it's like an hour again. I love it.
Keep on rolling, brother.
All right.
Goodbye, people. Oh. We love you, everybody. Peace out, be safe, long live the elbow bump.
Thanks, y'all. See you later.